Alright, today I'm going to be taking you through setting up Google Analytics for your site. We do have a direct integration that allows for the e-commerce integration with just putting in your account ID, so it is a pretty straightforward process. What that is going to look like is going to require two things. One is going to be your backend login, your admin dashboard, and the other is going to be going to analytics.google.com. So when I go to analytics.google.com, in my particular case, I already have accounts set up, so it is going to take me right into them. If I did not have accounts set up, it would take me to a page where it would allow me to get started, and Google will do a pretty good job of walking you through that process. If you do run into any issues there, I would just search YouTube or even just Google right for how to set up Google Analytics. Once the account is set up, the next step that you will need to go through will actually be down here in the settings, the little admin area. So when we click into this area, then here we will have the tracking info. Inside of the tracking info, we have a couple things. We have the tracking code. And so you'll see when the tracking code loads up that we have our tracking ID here. This tracking ID is all we need. So once this account is set up, we will copy this and we will go to the back end of the software. We'll go to the settings tab. Once we're on the settings tab, if we search with this filter here, then you will see that it comes up for us and we can drop in our tracking ID. That's actually all we need to do. So we would just paste this in here and we would be good to go. That does live on the Customize Your Website tab. So if you just want to navigate there without searching, you're going to go to Customize Your Website. Google Analytics Tracking ID is right here. You would just copy and paste that, scroll down here, and click Save. A couple other things worth mentioning are that I believe by default e-commerce will be enabled. If it is not, you may want to check this box as well. This is not the only piece that is required to get e-commerce working. A couple best practices would also include going back to your analytics setup, actually navigating back to like the main view here. So again, to get there, if we were to land on the home page, we would just come down here to the admin. We would go over here, actually, all the way to the right. So previously we were in the tracking info area in the middle. Over here, we're going to go to the right. We're going to look at e-commerce settings. I'm going to click on that, and usually this will be off by default. I'm going to want to turn that on and save that. Now, if we have this on and we have this checked, then the e-commerce reporting should be working. This is a much more accurate way to track conversions. One additional follow-up, and this is required to set your analytics account up properly, is that you will also, in the tracking info area, under session settings, we do suggest extending this time period. I believe by default this is set to 30 minutes or so, may even be 15 minutes. We suggest extending it to the maximum, which is 4 hours. So I would generally extend that to 4 hours from 15 to 30 minutes, whatever it defaults to. What this does is it doesn't reset the user's session regularly. With the nature of our websites, people do tend to spend a little bit more time on them, coming back to track their order, possibly coming back to rate their orders and stuff like that. So it will basically look at every time that somebody hits the website, it will assume that they are not a fresh visitor for up to 4 hours. And then if they were to visit it at 4 hours and 1 minute, then it would kind of look at them as having a second session on your website at that point.